Here we go. Well, hello and welcome to the Power of Your Mind podcast. I'm Victoria Gallagher, your host, and I'm here to inspire you to tap into the incredible power of your mind, help you understand the law of attraction, manifestation, hypnosis, affirmations, powerful tools all designed to help you to rewire your mindset and propel you towards success. Every week, we talk about proven strategies. We've actually been doing it a little bit more often, sometimes daily, to help you to empower your mindset and achieve your highest potential. Today, you are listening to episode number 371, and I have a return guest because what she has to share and talk about is so fascinating, so interesting. She has an amazing story. We're going to be talking with Kate Northrup, but before we begin, let me just give you a quick reminder. Subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform so that you never miss an episode. And you can also support our podcast by making sure that you leave a review, subscribe to my Believe Hypnosis app, which, yay, is finally launched. And if you're new to the show, just let me tell you a little bit. I'm a number one best-selling author, Practical Law of Attraction. I've been a hypnotherapist for the past 25 years, digital and course creator, inspirational speaker, entrepreneur, all the things, especially working with business people and entrepreneurs, helping them to align their mindset with their full potential. And so, without further ado, let me go ahead and get into Kate and how she can help, to inspire you today. So, Kate is also an entrepreneur, best-selling author, and a mother, something I'm not. And she supports ambitious people to light up the world without burning themselves out. And this is something that is so key here for so many people. Kate teaches you how to heal your relationship with money. Yes, you have a relationship with money. And is it good? Is it bad? Let's just see. But she is the author of some best-selling books, Money, A Love Story, and Do Less, the creator of Do Less Planner and the host of her own podcast called Plenty. And her work has been featured on some amazing places like the New York Times, Oprah Daily, the Today Show, Glamour, Harvard Business Review. She lives with her husband, business partner, and their two daughters in Miami. And so, for more information about Kate, you can check out her website at katenorthrup.com and her Instagram, same, and her Facebook group, which is the Kate Northrup community. So, today, Kate's going to be talking to us about how to break out of the old habits, the anxieties that we have around money in a world where everything just feels super expensive, keeping ourselves, our families afloat. People just working to get by. Money gets such a bad rap. And people are just they really need to heal their relationship with money. And so we're going to take a step back and we're going to learn how relaxing the nervous system, really healing your nervous system can help you to actually welcome in more money. This is about like doing less and making more, right?
Yes, exactly.
Well, welcome to the show. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, thank you so much for returning. It's a pleasure to have you. We had such an amazing conversation before, and I think more than ever today, with so many, you know, complaints about the economy and the job market, and everything's super expensive. People are, like it's hard to afford anything, buy a house, to send your kids to school, like all the things, So it's like people are stressed about money. They're super stressed about it. And so we want to like talk to them about like what you can do, especially if you're an entrepreneur and you're just struggling and
Yeah.
you're struggling to make it. And we have this tendency, I believe, as entrepreneurs I think even like as women entrepreneurs, that's like you've got to fight and you've got to like fight harder. You've got to do more. You got to put more on your schedule. You got to get up earlier. You got to stay up later. And trust me, I'm guilty of that. So maybe I can even learn a few things from you today. So let's talk about that.
Yeah. So what is really, you work with people around mindset, which is so beautiful and so important. And what I've learned over the years is that when it comes to money, because money is connected so fundamentally to survival, it really triggers our nervous system in a way that other things doesn't don't always, right? And so one of the things to understand is that, we can do all the affirmations we want. We can try to change all of our thoughts, but when our nervous system is triggered, when we are in a fight or flight response, when we are dysregulated, which basically means our nervous system has sensed a threat of some kind, and we think physiologically, our body thinks it is being chased by a bear or that we need to fight an enemy, right? So that's what is happening physiologically when we have this stress of like, oh my gosh, am I going to be able to feed my family? Oh my gosh, am I going to lose my job? Oh my gosh, is this launch going to do as well as I think? Am I going to be able to pay the mortgage, retire ever? Blah, 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 right? So we're like awake at night, our heart is racing, and all of these stress responses are physiological, meaning they are happening in the body. However, traditional wisdom around money is A, well, you need to change your behavior. But then B, many people understand in the personal development world, it's like, no, 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 you need to change your thoughts, you need to change your mindset. But the thing is, when our body is dysregulated, when we are in fear, when we are feeling fear, literally sensationally fear, we cannot think our way out of it. This is why when someone is upset or someone's scared, telling them calm down is completely ineffective, right? Like when we're in panic, the mind is actually not the best place to go. When we're in panic, what we need to do is metabolize the stress so that our body can come back to understanding, oh, actually, in this moment right now, I am safe. Because what's so cool is when we can learn to feel safe in our body, regardless of what's happening in the economy, regardless of what the headlines say, regardless of our launch numbers, regardless of our bank account, right? When we can actually learn to plug into a deep sense of physical safety in our nervous system, the very cool thing is that then we get so much more oxygen to our brain. We get all this cerebrospinal fluid running up and down our spine so that we are getting so much more nutrients, and where our left and right hemispheres are interconnected and firing, and our brain capacity and our creative thinking and our cognitive ability, like we are a million times smarter as business owners, as workers, as financial, as people with money who need to make smart decisions and be strategic. We cannot do that when we are stuck in a fight or flight or a flop or freeze response in our nervous system. We cannot think straight. We will not make good decisions. We will only be acting out of survival. And survival programming does not create prosperity. It just absolutely cannot. And so I love to start with people on the level of physiology so that then we can unlock the possibility later on down the road to rewrite our money story, to have a new mindset, and then to make smarter action steps and decisions and learn new skill sets. But we cannot do that when we're stuck in fear, which the vast majority of the population is stuck in fear based on our own experiences and then based on ancestral trauma around very real experiences of scarcity.
Yeah, yeah. It makes absolute 100% sense. As when you are in that fight or flight, anxious state, you're just the brain like literally like it kind of shuts down.
It does. Yeah,
And
all your blood flow goes to your core organs just to keep you alive and to your extremities so you can run or fight.
exactly. Yeah. I wonder sometimes, this is just a organic conversation, but like a lot of times I try to relate, my own personal stuff, to
Yeah, of
what
course.
you're talking about. And, so like I've been up and down that roller coaster this whole year, with the development and everything of my app, which costs so much more money than I was ever anticipating spending. So I lived in a kind of a little bit of that fight or flight a little bit myself for a while when like uh, invoices from my developers would
Yeah.
come, and I'm like, I don't normally even spend this in a month, and I just got a bill for that amount in a week. And like literally I would
Yeah.
it's like, and then you have to take out the credit card and pay it, and your heart is like literally like, oh my God, how many more of these bills am I going to have? And somehow I'm just going to say, I don't know what I did, but I learned to adapt to that, And now I will say, as a hypnotherapist, I have a lot of tools that
Yes.
help with the physiology part, So it's like where one minute I'm sitting there feeling like that, oh, that panic, that anxiety. It's like, how am I going to ever get myself out of that? To somehow making peace with that and kind of realizing like, okay, this is temporary. It's not going to last forever. Go out for a walk, do some meditation,
Yes.
really start to, you know, I don't know, what did I do?
Yeah, I love this. Okay, so what I know about the science of hypnotherapy is that actually hypnotherapy is rewiring our neural connections, and our neural connections are what make up the nervous system. So the nervous system is the brain and the body, right? The brain is part of a huge part of the nervous system, and it runs all the way down our spinal cord and all the way through, basically every single inch of our body. And those neural connections can be repatterned through hypnotherapy. So I'm sure you were using those tools, and something like going for a walk is an incredible tool for regulating the nervous system because any kind of movement actually signals to the body, oh, the threat has passed now. Because if you're having the capacity and the peace to take a walk around the block, that is actually signaling to your body, oh, all is well. Same thing with meditation. Now, meditation is tricky because for people who do have quite a history of trauma, especially repressed emotions or repressed memories, meditation can actually be too much stillness, too soon, too fast. Like it can just actually be too much. So meditation may not be the best place to start for everybody, but obviously you've been up to this for a long time. So meditation is a wonderful tool for dumping the stress and threat bucket. Now, what's really interesting, you're a business owner. I know you've been working on this app. It's so exciting. You've got this launch, right? When we are needing to learn a new skill set, let's say we're going to get into real estate investing, or we're building an app, or we're learning how to do some marketing strategy, or learning how to do a webinar, whatever it is, or learning how to be a hypnotherapist. When we are doing that, if our stress and threat bucket is overflowing, meaning we have had a lot of stressors come into our lives and we've not metabolized them, what ends up happening is our nervous system gets stuck. And we have all these unfelt, unprocessed emotions. And it's like having a million different browser tabs open in your emotional Google. And it leads us to feeling completely exhausted and burned out and incapable of focusing on anything, prioritizing, being creative, whatever. What's really interesting is with the nervous system, it is, our we are wired for survival fundamentally, right? And when our stress and threat bucket is full and we've not been practicing metabolizing the stress regularly, which most people are not, because everyone was told by, society that it's not okay to feel your feelings and you need to go back upstairs and come down when you're happy, or, right? Like, or, oh, you're too sensitive, or right. And then we're just like sitting around at our computers and we're on screens all the time. And, we're dysregulated for any number of reasons. So we're not typically, unless you know this stuff, engaging daily in practices that dump the stress and threat bucket. And so as a result, we go through our days, not most people go through their days with their limbic system, which is the part of the brain that is our survival brain. It's the oldest part of the brain. It's the lizard, right? It's the lizard brain. Our limbic system is running the show. Our limbic system says, whoa, it's rough out here. We just need to survive. I'm going to try to keep all of the resources reserved for basic survival, like digestion, procreation. That's it. Probably not even procreation, right? Just digestion and like survival. And what we know is that it's actually very expensive from a caloric perspective, just energetically, to rewire the nervous system. It is very expensive to create new neural patterning. So just like in a house, if you had an old house and you wanted to redo the electric, it's expensive. You got to hire the electrician, you got to pull out the walls and all the rewiring, and then you got to redo the drywall and repaint it's the whole thing. Our bodies are the same. Redoing the electric, which our nervous system is essentially our electrical system, is expensive. And so our survival wiring does not want to use the calories to think in new ways or learn new skill sets or engage in new behaviors, which is why when we try to just override our fear or resistance and just start with behavior alone, it doesn't work. Which is also why when we only do mindset work and we're not incorporating the body in any way, it tends to not work, because our survival wiring is like, no, 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 no. There's too much threat and stress. We can't use the calories to rewire the brain. We need to stick with what we've got. And so despite our best efforts, if we're not daily metabolizing stress and threat through nervous system regulating practices, we cannot learn new things. We cannot be creative. We cannot act in new ways. We will find ourselves recreating the same old thing over and over, doing the same behavior, despite the fact that we don't want to, despite the fact that we know it's not good for us, despite the fact that we committed to our coach that we weren't going to. We still find ourselves at like midnight eating a sleeve of Oreos, in the pantry or whatever the behavior is, right? It's because we cannot think our way out of old programming. We have to feel our way out of old programming.
Right. So what you're saying, I mean, the brain, and it's so perfect because I like literally one of my slides actually talks a lot about, how we're wired to stay in our comfort zone,
This is exactly it.
And
Yes.
but the problem is that as long as you stay in that comfort zone, everything is just going to pretty much stay exactly as it is.
Yeah, and everything we desire, of course, is outside the realm of what we've experienced before. And that's a bummer, because according to the nervous system, everything outside our previous realm of experience and the previous realm of experience of our ancestors and our community registers as unsafe.
Yeah.
So what are we supposed to do about the fact that everything we want is, according to our nervous system, a threat? That's tricky.
And when you said feeling, so this might also be helpful. I'm just going to be vulnerable here. But during those days, I'm really coming out of it now because I launched the app. I actually am hitting milestones with, subscribers. I am actually creating bigger and better things. So like I'm coming out of it. I'm still a little bit in it, but I can feel myself. It's like I'm a different person than I was a few months ago. So it's great. But I will tell you, during most of those days, and my husband thought, I mean, it was like Jekyll and Hyde, like one day it's like I've got it all together. And then the other days I'm just like bawling my eyes out.
Yes.
Literally just bawling my eyes out, thinking like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
I don't know if I don't know if I'm actually going to get through this.
It's so good that you actually so our culture has conditioned us to believe that the days you were bawling your eyes out were a problem.
Yeah.
Actually, the days you were bawling your eyes out were the solution.
Yeah.
And so that's what we really misunderstand. I can't even tell you the number of group coaching calls that I lead where someone cries and they apologize. It happens every single month. And I'm like, no, 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 no. This is your body's wisdom. We have our entire emotional processing system because we're supposed to use it, right? Like if you keep a car in the garage and you never start it up, it will stop working.
Hmm.
Our emotional system needs to be started up at least once a week and
Mm,
like
yeah.
drive it around the block, right? And that includes sadness, anger, fear, joy, like all of it. We are designed to feel it all so that we can feel it all instead of getting stuck. And we get stuck in old patterning because we didn't have the support, the resources, the knowledge, the time, or whatever it was to feel the feelings that we needed to feel at the time we had the experiences. And that gets stored as memory in our nervous system. And then we get stuck at those instances in time because our body does not tell time. And according to our body, all time is now. And so
Mm.
you end up in a conversation with your husband, but actually you're acting out something from your 5-year-old self. And so the whole game with nervous system healing is consistently closing those emotional stress loops, metabolizing the stress through nervous system healing practices, which include feeling your feelings. And then every time you do that, it like closes one of those tabs and gives you your energy back. And then the
Ooh.
next time you do it, it closes another tab and then it gives you your energy back and it updates your nervous system like, hey, whoa, look at me. I am a grown up and it is today, right? Like I'm no longer operating unconsciously from the past. I am here with my full presence, my full creativity, my full power right here in this moment, living my actual life, not the life of my grandmother or my 5-year-old self or my parents.
That's beautiful. That is beautiful. Well, I think we've really set the foundation that it's so important that we go beyond just our self-talk in
Yes.
order to deal with that stress, that anxiety, that fear, that fight or flight, all of that that gets trapped in the body and keeps us stuck in place. So what what do we do? What
Yeah. What do we do?
um uh,
Yeah, I mean, I really like when it comes to money, right? Because who doesn't want to make more money? Who doesn't want to be more strategic with the money they have, right? Like, but these things were not taught to us in school. And most of our parents didn't pass along great thoughts or behaviors around money either because it was not given to them, right? And so it's really important to get good at money to be able to learn new things. I will just say anyone can be good with money as long as you can do fourth grade math. It does not have to be hard at all. And honestly, most of the math I do, I do it with ChatGPT. So just so you know, you don't even have to even be that good. Like my second grader, I have trouble helping her with her math. So you do not have to be good with numbers to be good with money. Money is a reflection of value we created in the world. Money is a currency. Money is an energy. And yes, the economy exists but mostly like it's all a game. Money is pretend. We made it up as human beings. It is the greatest kind of like game that everyone just bought into that we're doing. But
yeah.
it really is pretend. Like what we actually need to survive is shelter, food, water, sunshine, and touch. You really can actually get all of those things largely for free.
You really can.
Right, like really, largely. And the things that bring the most meaning to our lives also tend to be free.
It's so true. It's so true.
And
I mean,
so,
like when sometimes, when I think about like, all the things, like having the certain level of success, a certain level of wealth and abundance and all of that. I really like I try to imagine my life, doing my visualizations and things like that. What is it going to really look like? And, really it kind of comes down to the only difference is I'm going to have a pool in the backyard. And there's going to be a few more little baubles of recognition of things that I've
Yeah,
achieved. That's it. But
yeah,
largely, like the house, pretty much, I'm already here. I mean, you're gonna spend 80%, if not more, of your day pretty much how it is right now because you're gonna sleep.
yeah.
You're gonna do
You're gonna make
something
dinner.
a service, you're gonna work out, you're gonna eat, you're gonna do all pretty much the same things. It's just
Yeah.
gonna be slightly different.
Yeah. And so what's really cool is that every single way we want to feel is available right now. Now, we think that having more money is going to make us feel a certain way. What we find with the data is that once your basic needs are met, so I really want to say more money absolutely makes a huge difference in your life if you are food insecure or housing insecure. So we are having a conversation of we've moved now beyond basic survival into more of a conversation of, okay, we're talking about varying degrees of enoughness
Yeah.
or possibly even more than enough, right? So I want to be super clear about that. But what the data shows is that after somebody's making in their household $74,000 ish in their currency, the equivalent, um, more money does not actually correlate with any more happiness or satisfaction.
Hmm.
So
It makes
that's
sense.
really, yeah. Now, it doesn't mean we don't get to have more money,
Yep.
but here's the game that I like to play and that I teach people is that given that every single way you want to feel is available right now with nothing changing at all in your life, certainly not in your finances, why not just learn to feel safe in your body so that all those ways of feeling are available right now, which on a quantum level actually does rearrange the universe so that your external life begins to be a more direct reflection of that feeling of abundance that's inside. But I'll tell you what, like I go out on my balcony in the morning and I watch the sunrise and I sit next to this bougainvillea plant that I have out there. And it is like ecstasy. And yeah, okay, I don't know how much I spent on the bush. It was maybe $100, right? So it's like that experience of communing with this beautiful, the color and the sun and the whole thing is like, that is how I start the day in connection to source, which is really what we're talking about here when it comes to abundance. And when we can stay connected to source, we actually make powerful money choices because when we're acting out of wholeness and abundance, knowing that there's nothing externally that can disconnect us from the divine, that can disconnect us from our full and complete infinite worthiness, then we are making power moves in terms of the way we would make hiring decisions, in terms of what we would put our creative energy towards, in terms of what we would say yes to, what we would say no to, what we would invest in, the sort of people we would spend time with. And so it's that connection to source, which becomes possible through a regulated nervous system that connects us to infinite abundance. And then in the 3D world that we can see, we start showing up in a completely different way and people start organizing around us in a
Yeah.
completely different way.
Absolutely. Everything that you said there, I'm just, I mean, it's like that is the ticket. Like
That is the ticket.
that is that is the ticket to happiness. And like you said, happiness is inside of you right now. Like none of the things that you think are going to make you happy. And yes, like it's one of these conversations that's a little difficult to say, but it's like, yes, you have as much money as you want. It's like that's your divine right. And understand that money is not the thing that's going to bring you happiness. It's going to bring you some things, like
Yes, it brings choices,
more
which
choices,
is
more,
helpful for happiness.
yes.
Yes.
It can certainly help. But I've always said, and I strongly, thoroughly believe that you're not going to attract more money into your life by being disgruntled about how little money you have.
For sure, never going to happen. No. Or I will say, because there are certainly people who are complaining about money who have a lot of money, right? I know a lot of them.
Hmm.
But what they are not experiencing is an experience of true abundance,
Hmm.
because true abundance includes a feeling of infinite capacity to enjoy your well-being.
Yeah.
And if so just to be super clear, like having more money, A, doesn't bring happiness, but B, being in abundance is a much better way to attract actual abundance, financial and otherwise. So we can get caught up in thinking like, oh, well, then maybe money is not important. No, money is totally important because we live in a 3D reality where like you gotta have money in most places, right? In most places
100%.
that we choose to live.
Yeah.
And
It
so,
costs
but it
money to buy first class seats on a
totally,
plane to get to where you want to go.
yes, but it's also a game. And if you want to learn the rules of the game and how to thrive in the game, it's way easier to do so when you are consistently metabolizing your stress so that you open up your capacity to learn those new skills and to behave in new ways.
So, what is one step that you would teach a person who wants more money, but they
Yeah,
know obviously, like now, okay, we get it that, okay, I've got to metabolize my
right,
stress.
right.
Okay. So, what do I do?
Yeah. Okay. Well, the best way to metabolize your stress is to move. So like the take home, I know people are gonna be like, what? Really? This is your take home message about money? But I gotta tell you, I think the way we do things matters. So, like, yes, you can go to the gym, you can go to Zumba class, you can take your walk, whatever. But when you do it with the intention of like, I'm doing this to metabolize my stress and become a magnet for abundance or open up to the abundance that's already available, it changes the results. Like it really does. Any amount of movement works. But when we add in, like, okay, this is a prosperity practice,
Yeah.
it increases the results for sure.
Oh my God. It's almost like I can go back to the moment when everything kind of started shifting. And it was, I was posting a lot on Facebook stories, and you know how they have the music that you can choose from. And I came across this artist, and I can't remember her name right off the top of my head. But she sings that warrior song, like she is a warrior. And anyway, Alita, I think is her name. Anyway, I've downloaded like her songs because they're all these like empowering songs. And I realized in that moment, like, you know what? That's my niche. That's my genre. I love empowerment music. And so
Cool.
this one night, I'm like, hey, I want to share these songs. My husband and I do this thing where we share songs. And so I just started singing and dancing and just like projecting myself into the future and like because these songs are so empowering and they just like if you're not moving, you are not alive.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, so I just tapped into something that just got me like really like connected and
Mm,
feeling like happy and feeling joy and feeling like I'm breaking out of this. I'm breaking free. And I really feel like that movement, but it
yes.
was joyful movement. It wasn't
It's
just like,
joyful movement. There's something specific about dance that is deeply regulating because it is rhythmic movement. And then when you add singing, it tones your vagus nerve, and your vagus nerve is critical to the nervous system and to regulation and your body feeling safe. So if you combine movement and singing, or even if you're not really much of a singer, just movement and humming, movement and toning of any kind, powerful, powerful, powerful.
So there you go. That's the end of the show,
That's
folks. It's just sing and dance and become a millionaire.
it. But it really is like it's small doable parts over time, but when we clear that stress from our bodies, we then become available to receive the guidance for the next right step to move in the direction of abundance. But when we are not doing those practices, when we're staying rooted in scarcity and stress and pressure, the next right action step that we think of will be recreating scarcity and stress and pressure. Because when we create, whatever we create, we will be recreating the state from which we created.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, you have a couple of choices. I mean, you can sit there and kind of stay, in your zone and keep telling yourself the story about how bad it is and how, you hate this moment and how, um, all of that nasty stuff. You could just stay there and, that's a choice. That's a choice that we can make. Or we can, just kind of just we have a choice to move.
Yeah.
We have a choice to many people don't know that they have that choice, and that's where the awareness comes in. That's where somebody like you steps in and says these are the things you can do. And then not only that, but the will to want to change that story. Because sometimes don't you come across people that like, yeah, I've tried that, or that doesn't work for me, or whatever, they have an excuse that they
Yes.
just want to stay where they are.
Yes, because the wiring is so strong and they're so unmetabolized that there's that resistance of, I know this already. I've tried that. It doesn't work. This is stupid. All of that limited thinking comes from a stressed nervous system that does not want to expend the calories to rewire.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it's like, yes, the will to do it sometimes can just overcome that, because sometimes there's just that divine spark where someone's just like, I am freaking doing this. And I love that. That's amazing. And we can access more of that in ourselves anytime through regulation. We can just increase our capacity to think in a new way, to have more will, to have more energy to devote to change.
So, what do you say to the person who, like, okay, they just heard us talking about singing and dancing, and they're like, I don't have the will to do that. I'm
Yeah.
not happy.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine anything changing at all. There's no hope for me.
Yeah. What I would do in that case is I would close your eyes and I would find any place in your body, just any place in your body. It could be your little pinky fingernail, it could be your left elbow, it could be the arch of your left foot, where there is any sense of aliveness, like any amount of feeling, literally. Because what you're describing is like a flat line, right? And ultimately, what we're talking about is connecting to life force. And so, what I would do is, in just the smallest possible way that you could possibly do right now without even moving, find where is there even just 0.01% of aliveness in my body, and just pay attention to it and see if you can put your attention there and let it grow, even just the teeniest, weeniest amount. And the cool thing about this is it compounds every time. So every hypnotherapy session you do, every walk, every dance party to empowering music, every time you sing in the car, it actually compounds, like it builds more capacity in your nervous system. So it's not like dental hygiene where you just have to brush your teeth twice a year, twice a day for the rest of your life, right? That doesn't build on each other. You just have to do it fresh every day. It's not like that with our nervous systems. We are not starting at zero. We are starting where we left off yesterday. Now, when we have new stressors and new threats, of course, we need to metabolize those as well. But the cool thing with all of this stuff is like the better it gets, the better it gets.
Yeah.
And that I love. I just think
Yeah.
it's so exciting
So
because
it's
it's
like
like
a
compound
cumulative
interest.
effect. A
Yeah.
cumulative
It's
effect.
cumulative. Yeah.
Okay, so there's that person. And then now let's talk to the entrepreneur out there who like that, that's not their situation. Their situation is they've just hit a wall. Like they've just hit a financial wall and like they're not in like bad shape. They're just trying to break through some kind of invisible wall.
Mm,
Um, Obviously there's multi layers to
yeah.
that. Obviously there's the mental block, but then I would say you would also suggest there's a physical component to that.
Yeah, there is. And so is it okay if I tell the story of what happened with me around this a few years ago?
Please, yes.
Yeah, so at the end of 2021, I was sitting with a group of girlfriends, and many of them were a little further along in business than me. So it was a mastermind group, but I was like had one of the smaller businesses in the group. So that's tip number one. Spend time with people who expand you
Mm.
because your nervous system has mirror neurons. And when you're in a room around other people, it doesn't even have to be an actual room, although it is more powerful, but like just listen to people's memoirs, listen to their podcasts, like immerse yourself in the material of people who would be expanders for you. Okay. So I'm sitting with this group, and just by the fact that I'm with them, I'm already expanding because that's how it works, which is so cool. It is like the most do less growth strategy I know of. So when I have the opportunity to get in a room with people playing a big game in a fun way, I do it. Okay. So I'm there and I said, I have had fundamentally the same revenue in my business for 5 years in a row. And I was like, we do different strategies. We do this. It did just like at the end of the year, we come in right at the same part, give or take 10%. And I was like, what's going on? And my friend Kathy started asking me some questions. And she helped me to understand. And I would recommend anybody do this who's having that kind of plateau. She asked me, what are you afraid would happen if you had a higher income? Like what are you afraid would happen? Who are you afraid would judge you? What is going on here? And she helped me get really specific with like, I was actually on some level unconsciously, semi-consciously holding back because I was like afraid that the women from high school would judge me. I mean, literally, like that's what was in there. And because I was in an environment of safe co-regulation, I was able to say the vulnerable thing, be witnessed in it, and it kind of just it pretty swiftly dissolved because I named the problem, I told the truth in safe community. I was able to be witnessed and have that coaching to kind of like get out those strands of, oh, that's really not helpful. And because my body felt safe, it could kind of just like let go of that. And because I now had that new awareness, right? When we say we want something, but we don't have it, it is usually because we're running unconscious patterning. And also there's a secondary gain. And the secondary gain is there's something that I get to avoid doing, or something that I get to keep doing, or avoid feeling or keep feeling by not having the thing I say I want. So that secondary gain for me was like, I got to feel relatable. So I
Mm.
got to really look at like, what is important about that to me? And is it possible that I could still get the thing I really crave, which is true connection, while expanding my income? And of course, the answer is yes.
Yeah.
right? Like it's completely irrational to think, oh, I'm going to end up alone if I really go for it in my business. And so as a result of that conversation, and that safe space, I was able to really shift that pattern. And I think that year we like 1.5 times our business, and then it's like doubled since then. And it just really took off in a big way because I could see that there was like this cap that I had on there from an unconscious pattern that on some level did live in my nervous system. And then of course was creating behavior,
Right.
which even though I wasn't conscious of it, I was keeping a lid on things.
It's interesting, because I was listening to what you were saying, and I was actually trying to apply the information to maybe what I've gone through. And I find sometimes like I don't know why this is, and I've logically um, thought about how it would be better to actually tell a different story for everyone's case, including mine, including my clients. But for some reason, I love for people to realize just how hard it is. You know,
Yeah.
I just need so much validation that like no one else could have ever gone through what I've gone through to make this happen. Like this is not easy. And I don't know why I just don't want to let go of that story. Like I would really love for it to be easy. Like
Yeah.
that's a better story. It's a way more empowering, powerful story, right?
Yeah. Well, and so in those places, that's where, and this is like a whole other tangent. So I'm just going to put it and go with it where you
Yeah.
want. But the work of internal family systems work, IFS, and parts work has really changed my life because our different parts are these different ages of us and our different ways of being. There's different parts of us that I believe are the different stuck aspects of our nervous system from the past that
Mm.
we get stuck in these places. And so for me, in my situation, I had a part that was like desperate to be relatable because the craving was connection. So what I needed to do was not override that, but was actually to tend to the part which actually shows up as a sensation in my body that then comes with a bunch of thoughts and beliefs and memories and all that stuff, right? We all have these parts that if we close our eyes and tune in to that feeling of like, I want people to know how hard this is, we can ask ourselves the question, what's familiar about this? When have I felt this way before? And we can ask and go in and see, oh, wow, I'm feeling this constriction in my heart. Okay, what does that feeling want to tell me? And we can actually be in this dialogue internally with a part of ourselves that really actually just needs our love and attention. And then when it gets that love and attention, when it feels seen, it can kind of just like unravel and still be there, but doesn't have to run the show anymore. When our parts are unconscious, they take over. But when they become conscious and we just love them and let them be there and say, like, hey, you get to be here, but I'm going to be in charge, they just kind of get to be there. And then we can be more conscious.
That's beautiful. And yeah, we call that in hypnotherapy, we call it parts therapy.
Okay. So same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that. I love that. So let's kind of tie this into how how people can work with you, what kind of resources you might provide,
Yeah.
where they can kind of, just get on the path to working on their nervous system, calming down, calming down, being at peace, having it be effortless and easy,
Mm.
and doing less and making more.
Amazing. So I really like to hear other people's success stories as like my inspiration. So what I did is I put together a guide called The Biggest Money Breakthroughs of the Highest Earning Women I Know. And so I interviewed 21 women who are high six, seven, and in some cases, eight-figure earners. And I gathered together their biggest money breakthroughs of all time in a guide that people can download. And then accompanying it is a my favorite nervous system regulation practice for prosperity and abundance. So you can get that for free over at katenorthrup.com/breakthroughs. And I would say that that's like a great resource because it kind of combines both the practical insights and then also the tools and understanding on a deeper level the nervous system. And that tool, I think it's like a 20-minute video or something. So that's a great place to start. My podcast Plenty is available. I talk much more in depth about these topics, and then we have our signature program, Relax Money, which will be enrolling in spring 2025. So if you really want to dive in and heal your relationship with money, that's the place to be.
Wonderful. Wow. I love the gift. That sounds like an amazing place to start with so it's katenorthrup.com/breakthroughs.
Yep.
And you're going to be able to get those two resources, which are the 21 women who had the breakthroughs and your tools for helping with healing the nervous system. That is amazing. And then, of course, you've got all the other resources, your podcast, your course, which is coming up for spring of
Yeah. Spring
2025.
2025. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being a repeat guest on the Power of Your Mind podcast. It's been very enlightening as it was before, but even deeper this time. And I really appreciate the time that you took to share all of these, the insights and explorations and discoveries with our guests.
Thanks, Victoria. This was great.
Thank you. Hmm, where do I stop? Oh, here we go.